Alone again, I sat down, set my chair against the wall, and let the activity of Leopold's and its clamorous patrons close over me. Leopold's was a place for people to see, to be seen, and to see themselves in the act of being seen.
I'm reading it right at the moment.
Oh, I hope you're liking it.
It's absolutely amazing.
I'm reading it. I hate it. I've come to meet it. No, I hope you like it.
Oh, I don't know, is the whole thing true? Or how much of it is or
See,
not?
told you.
Yeah.
It's hard to get that.
All the experiences.
So, the Mumbai attackers decided to target this place. How did you feel when you found out that they were trying to hurt not only this place but also its clientele?
Obviously horrified, and on the other hand, it's something that was to be expected. We had anticipated that there would be an attack. I had spoken with the two brothers who are here, who own Leopold's, and the two brothers had said to me, Farzad and Farhan, we are expecting that there will be some kind of attack, but what they were expecting was a bomb. So they were watching every abandoned bag, anything that was left here for more than a few seconds. They were extremely vigilant on that. So it was to be expected. As it turns out, it wasn't a bomb. It was people throwing a hand grenade and then walking in with machine guns and opening fire on people who were sitting there eating their dinner and having a drink.
But it's such an unassuming place, isn't it? To find itself as the target of terror, but also to be featured so prominently in Shantaram. Why did you decide to have it as such a factor of the book?
I needed a place where the characters, the non-Indian characters, the European characters in the book, could interact with one another. And the two other places that are major locations in the book. Good, man.
I see you.
The two other locations in the book.
Anywhere in this city.
That's one of the brothers who owns the place. And so one of the reasons I chose Leopold, among many others, the fact of course, that I spent a lot of time here, that I had a table here that was my table, that I had a lot of adventures that either began or transpired or ended in Leopold's. I had the two settings that were for exclusively Indian, were the village and the slum. And it would have been unnatural for my European characters to all assemble somehow in the slum or in the village. So it gave me a third alternative, a place where my European characters could interact with one another and where I could slowly start to introduce them to the reader and begin the character development of them. The waiters here at Leopold's used to be trained. They would be hired on the basis of how they could fight. They had to go, the waiters here had to fight for 30 seconds with a big Sikh guy who was working here in Leopold's. And if they lasted 30 seconds with him, then they could work in Leopold. So they were hired for their ability to fight. It was a very rough place in those days, very tough. So there was a big fight, and I was with three girls. And I saw this coming toward me and thought, okay, I gotta move. We gotta do something. And that table started collapsing, and the big brawl or fight started coming toward us like a wave. And I stood up at one stage and took out my two knives, thinking they're coming directly at us. And there's people with chairs and bottles. And so I picked up the two knives, put the girls behind me, and pulled out the two knives. And everyone came like this and then went away. And it stopped. No one came to me. And it was finished, and then it was over, put the knives back, the girls sat down, we were fine. But the owner, who was the father of the two boys who own it now, came to me and said, if you're carrying those knives in this place, when the police come, it'll be a problem for us. Can we ask you to leave them outside? And I said, no, it's too dangerous for me. I tell you what I'll do. I will hide them under the table. So I made a special slide underneath that table. And when I came in, I used to put my two knives under the table. So I wasn't carrying weapons. And then when I left, I would take them and put them in, and so on. And for years, that was always there. It was my table. Bizarre.
You spent many years as a heroin addict, which is what landed you in trouble in the first place, and you turned to armed robbery to fund your habit. Take us back to those days.
I lost the custody of my daughter. It was particularly hard, and I was too young and too weak and too immature. And on the night that I lost my daughter, a friend came to see me and said, I knew you'd be in this condition. I knew you'd be shattered and brokenhearted. I've got just the thing that's going to help you. Rolled up my sleeve and gave me my first injection of heroin. And he was right, in a sense. The fact is...
This was a friend?
Yeah. Well, an acquaintance. And within a couple of years, I was so broken down, I'd lost everything and sold everything, dropped out of university, stopped writing. I was a published author before I started taking drugs, and ended up taking a toy gun and doing a robbery to get money for drugs. And I was arguably the most incompetent criminal in the history of crime. I went in saying, I'm terribly sorry to do this. You can see I have a weapon. I had a three-piece suit. I showed this toy pistol and said, I'm terribly sorry. I don't want to point this. Someone might get hurt. And so people would start putting money on the counter. And I said, no, please stop. I only need a little bit of money to get my heroin. And they would look at you and go, okay, and put more money on the counter, say, no, please stop giving me money. And I think the phrase, please stop giving me money, qualifies me for being the most incompetent criminal in the history of crime. You cross a line when you do this, you feel so sick with shame that you have fallen so low, that I did certainly, that you feel that you're damned and beyond redemption. And so I kept going into that life until it led to prison.
10 years in maximum security just must be, I can't even imagine how daunting to sit there and look at that stretch in front of you. So eventually you plotted your escape, and that's one of the most nerve-wracking bits of the book, Shantaram, in which you describe how you absconded. Was it as dramatic as you made out?
Oh, much, much more so. I've been through a lot of strange and deadly experiences, but escaping from prison is the thing that puts everything else into a kind of context. There is a moment, of course you're risking your life. If they see you, they will shoot you and they will kill you. But when you stand on that wall, there is the exhilaration of freedom. When you escape and you're standing on the front wall of a maximum security prison at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're between two gun towers, and you're going to slide down an improvised rope made from an electrical cord and escape. Standing there at that moment, there is an exhilaration that's like nothing else I've ever known. When you land on the ground, there is a sense of horror like nothing else I've ever known, because you know you have just cut the umbilical. That extension cord is like an umbilical cord, and when you walk away from it, and you walk away from that prison, you know you will not see your mother, your father, your brother, your children. You'll not see anyone ever again of the family you love. You may never see them. There is a loneliness in it that's so extreme that I used it as the theme of the book Shantaram, because the theme of that novel is the exile experience.
What's been your darkest moment?
The darkest moment spiritually for me was in Afghanistan, when we had to fight our way out. We were trapped on a mountain. It was supposed to be a matter of a couple of weeks, going in there, dropping our cargo, coming out. We got trapped on a mountain. We were surrounded by Russian and Afghan regular army forces, and we had to fight our way out. The other men had to fight. I was hopeless at it, and I couldn't have fought my way out of a paper bag compared to them. They were real soldiers, and the Mujahideen. I could be shot at and not be sickened by it. There were mortar rounds coming in. We were being under fire, and I somehow accepted that, and somehow it didn't cause me a lot of psychic stress or psychic pain. It's just fear. But this, the psychic pain came when I took a gun and ran with the other men toward the enemy, with the idea that we will kill to survive. And there was a moment in doing this that's so sickening, when you realize you just lost a piece of your soul and you're probably never going to get it back. That moment of running toward other human beings you don't know, and with the intention that you will kill them to survive. This was the darkest moment for me.
The Path to Redemption, how a Mumbai landmark inspired Roberts during his criminal years.